The time for change is here, and that change is Paul Reed. The Detroit Pistons lose 112-103 in game four, and really just an overall underwhelming performance from the Pistons. Really the only guys that, in my opinion, played well in this game, at least expectations and above, is Tobias Harris, Paul Reed, and Caris Levert. I thought Caris Levert was awesome. And I truly think ever since Mikey and I kind of talked about how he shouldn't really be playing any minutes in the postseason, he's really stepped up not only his play, not only his energy. I think his energy on the defensive side, especially in the first half, was incredible. But he's just hitting shots, and that's absolutely massive, especially coming off the bench for this Pistons team. Went 10 for 16 on the day, 3 for 6 from the field, led the Pistons in scoring with 24 points. He was the big reason why the Pistons were even up going to halftime by 4 points. But outside of him, Tobias Harris had an okay game considering what he's done in the past. He had 16 points. Paul Reed just continues to be impressive every single time he is on the court. He's the energy guy. He's the guy that truly seems to kind of make a difference every single time that he is put in. And that's really the biggest issue I have with this game, is that Paul Reed deserves to play more minutes. Jalen Duren was just awful in this game. I understand he has not been good at all in the postseason. He has actually scored less than double digits in more amount of games in the playoffs than he did in the entire regular season. And just his ability to kind of be on the court is becoming less and less consistent. He's a guy that the Cavs are doing a really good job of taking away what he does good. And I do want to give the Cavs a ton of credit for that. But Paul Reed needs to play more. And this is something that I kind of find an issue with JB Bickerstaff on, and really kind of his approach, and just not only throughout this series, but just his playoffs in general, is that Paul Reed has been the better center for this Pistons team throughout this playoffs. In this specific game, Paul Reed had 15 points, 4 rebounds in 14 minutes. Jalen Duren basically played double that, had 8 points, 2 rebounds. Paul Reed, in less than twice his amount of minutes, has more than twice the amount of points and exactly twice the amount of rebounds than what Jalen Duren had. And the biggest issue for me when it comes to JB Bickerstaff is not only the way that he's been handling really kind of players not playing well, it's the inconsistency of how he handles things. Because Asar Thompson did not play good at all in this game. He had 19 minutes of total action. He was not good offensively, was struggling defensively, wasn't getting rebounds, wasn't scoring. Asar Thompson did not play well, and he was benched because of that. I was actually for that decision. I thought that was a smart decision. But Jalen Duren, on the other hand, JB Bickerstaff decides to, hey, we have to play him. We have to get him back in, especially when the Pistons are getting a little bit of momentum in the second half, in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. Now, at that point, the game was completely over, because when you give up a 25-0 run at the start of the second half, which was an absolutely pathetic start to the second half, probably one of the worst starts to the second half I've ever seen. I have no idea what kind of conversations, what kind of things were talked about in the locker room, but I truly hope that conversation goes in one ear and out the other ear, because if it doesn't, if that's how they start out next game, that is going to be really concerning. But full credit to Donovan Mitchell. I thought he was great. A star player is going to star player. And when he got going in the second half, put up 39 points in the second half out of his 43 points. That was almost an NBA record. Deserves a ton of credit. Shot a ton of free throws. Shot more free throws than the Pistons in this game, which that's another thing that is unacceptable. It's not the big reason. It's not the only reason why I thought the Pistons lost this game. I think there's much bigger issues to talk about than this one, but really the foul discrepancy and the foul free throw discrepancy was absolutely massive in this one. Donovan Mitchell had more free throw attempts in this game than the entire Pistons team as a whole. I understand that Donovan Mitchell drives the lane, but that's exactly what the Pistons do as well. It seemed like almost over and over and over, there was foul calls that could have been called against the Cavs that were not. Now, again, this was not the only issue. This one's not the big reason why the Pistons lost this game. Obviously, it was a factor, but giving up a 25-point run to start the second half is a big factor. This game was over heading into the fourth quarter at that point. Like, this is something that the Pistons need to continue to keep an eye on. This is something fans are going to continue to be frustrated by. And obviously, going back home, I think you're going to get a little bit of a more friendly whistle. And obviously, the Cavs have been really good at home in the playoffs. They've been undefeated in the playoffs at home. So, obviously, got to give them a ton of credit here. But just at the end of the day, it's about not only effort, it's not only about getting the star players to step up, which the Cavs did in Donovan Mitchell. Cade Cunningham, okay game. Wasn't up to his expectations. Scored a lot of his points when it wasn't really a close game. Kind of expect a little bit better performance from him. But at the end of the day, it's about coaching. It's about getting these guys right. It's about continuing to make adjustments throughout the game. And going back to the point of just how JB Bickerstaff approaches these lineups, how he approaches this really kind of overall subbing has been an issue. And that's not because of Asar Thompson getting benched. Like I specifically said, I agreed with that. I think that was a smart decision. I think that was the good decision. But the way he treats Jalen Duren is absolutely, in my opinion, the biggest issue out of them all coming out of this game. I know Jalen Duren said after the game in a press conference that, hey, he is his own biggest critic. Then show that you are the biggest critic of yourself. Show that these performances, especially in Game 3, Game 4, especially throughout the whole entire playoffs, these are not meeting your expectations. These are not how you perform. Because you have not shown that one single time. And there's been multiple times in these games where you've seen it, where you can see that, hey, he has beaten Jarrett Allen down low. He can be physical. He can out-physical him. There's been moments, but you need to do that more consistently. You need to be a big part of it. And JB Bickerstaff needs to be a coach of an NBA team. And that means making the tough decision when that time comes. And that time is right now. In my opinion, I think Paul Reed should absolutely start the next game. I know in a past interview, JB Bickerstaff has said Paul Reed is our energy buddy. He's a guy off the bench to kind of get us back in the game. Well, you know what? You can still use that. Start him for the first couple of minutes. Start him to be that energy bunny. Start him to get the crowd going. Get off to a good start and then put Jalen Duren in. If your star, quote unquote, the one that wants a max contract extension, isn't fine with that, is that someone you want to even give a max contract to? Like, I understand this isn't something that's typical in the NBA. I understand this isn't something that you typically do. But at the end of the day, when a single player's performance throughout this entire postseason has really limited what this team has been able to do, even though they're in the second round, you need to make a change. Paul Reed is that change. Isaiah Stewart is that change. I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect Jalen Duren to play less minutes, even though JB Bickerstaff was appreciative and did say that Paul Reed deserved those minutes. I think he absolutely deserves more minutes, and absolutely going into Game 5 and must win for the Pistons. You need to play him more, especially if you start Jalen Duren and he does not start out good. Whatever happens, though, absolutely must win. Really disappointing loss. Really disappointing last two games. This series should absolutely be 3-1 Pistons, but 2-2 right now. It could be worse. You could have lost one of the first two games, but really, you need to gain that momentum back, and it starts with winning Game 5, starts with winning tomorrow. If you can do that, maybe you can win this series. If not, you are in a real danger zone because no one's been able to go into Cleveland. And if you have to go into Cleveland with a must-win game to force Game 7, I don't feel very confident. So we're going to see if the Pistons respond. It's going to be a home game. Hopefully the crowd gets these guys going. But just a really, really disappointing just overall performance. Jalen Duren needs to be better. If he's his own critic, he needs to understand he needs better performances. Cade Cunningham needs to be better as well. Asar Thompson will absolutely be better. Big Game 5 happening tomorrow night. Thank you so much for tuning in this episode. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment as well. And let's see what happens Game 5 as I recap that after tomorrow night.